G'day folks. Well, this vid is going to be about my oiling mods. I've never really talked about it, guys. I've never really sort of said much. Once I did it, you know, that was it. We sort of, yeah, I've got oil pressure, rah, but I've sort of never really talked about it, and I sort of want to just gloss over it again for the ones that, look, for all you guys, if you're interested, that how good it works. It's unbelievable. I haven't put the accumulator back on. There's a good reason I haven't done that. I sort of want to determine, I'm still testing, but to date we haven't faltered at all in oil pressure. We don't even get any variance, you know, like back in the day, before I did the mods, guys, it's not the first time when I looked back at a video around the sweeper. That was the first time I noticed oil pressure dropping away. Around a bit over sort of 6,000 revs, and next thing you know we're dropping away down to about 30 pound. Oh, that was with that 355 that I had in, with the accumulator, by the way, too. So yes, it wasn't a good thing, but I was actually striking it in other spots too. Oil pressure fade coming into this hairpin. I always noticed it really fell away, even when I went back to second gear, brought the revs up again under hard braking. So it was there, guys. You know, I had a what do you call it? One of those bloody high energy sumps which stored around 5 or 6 litres, about 5.5. It sort of took a little bit more than one of those 5 litre containers. But I think a lot of it, guys, a lot of the oiling problems that I was encountering was oil in the heads. See, these early Holdens are notorious for pumping huge volumes of oil into the heads and not being able to get it gravity fed back down to the engine quick enough. There's a few problems there, guys, that cause the oil to hang around up in the heads and not sort of gravity drain back quick enough. And this is, and I'll tell you one thing too, guys, was the what do you call it? The breathers. I just had a memory blank there. The breathers. See, originally I ran 2 breathers, one in each of the valve covers. And what was happening is because because of a boosted engine, you're getting a fair bit of blow-by, right, through the piston. It just happens. It's the way it is. And you're venting out through the top of the head, so you're getting a rush of air come up through your heads. You know, through all the gaps in your push rods, your drain backs. So you're getting this amount of air coming up. We're getting huge amounts of oil getting pumped up, but nothing's sort of coming back quick enough to the sump. So we're getting oil that's hanging around up the top there, starving our sumps dry. So to remedy that problem with your breathers, I ended up putting an extra 2 in the manifold. Now what that does, that alleviates some of the pressure from the heads. So we're getting a bit of an equalisation happening in the top half of the engine. So that's one little trick that you can do. But I think the next biggest trick for me, and I'm no expert, guys, but for me was doing the external drain backs of the out of the heads. I run a scavenge pump, which is the same scavenge pump that I've got off my turbo. They pump around 12 litres a minute, okay? It's not the be-all end-all. This is what I'm trying to get at, guys. It's just a supplement to help get rid of the oil that accumulates out of the heads or up in the heads and to send it back into the sump. So, you know, we're getting drain back because we've lessened the pressure, we've equalised it in the heads from our breathers, and we've got external drain backs. So the amount of oil, we may still get a little bit up in there, but it's dramatically reduced to what it would have been factory. So, because I don't want to restrict the oil going up into the heads, because there's a few little benefits with extra oil going into the heads. Because I run aluminium heads, I've got my cooling system unbelievably nutted out now, so we're getting incredible cooling. So what does that tell you? Through aluminium, we can extract a lot of heat. So we get hot oil that comes up from the engine down below. It gets flooded in the top, so it gets a chance to cool your valve springs down. It gets a chance to get cooled by the aluminium head. And that's why I don't want to restrict the oil going into the heads, but I want to get rid of it quickly. So for me, like I said, running the scavenge pump on the drain backs at the rear of the heads, having tapped in fittings, right at the drain points at the rear of the heads, has been key to keeping the oil in the sump. Now the second thing, guys, is extra capacity oil. Like I said, I was running around 5 to 6 litres of oil. Well, I'm really, now that I've done the modding on the sump, we've made it a lot larger, like physically a lot bigger, a little bit lower. We've created capacity now of nearly 10 litres. So 9.7, I think, to be precise, yes. So we've got huge volumes of oil. So even if we do run into a lot of oil in the heads, we've still got plenty of oil that's left in the sump for the pickup to keep the engine fed, because we don't want to run surge. That's number one killer. And I think a lot of guys are failing, or engine failing, because of that. Cooking bearings and having complete catastrophes. It's not due to the fact that their motors aren't strong enough or component failures, it's the oiling. They need that constant supply, especially up in the top half of the revs. So increasing capacity, lowering it, making up a modified pickup, which the factory ones are appalling, they're shocking design. We ended up radiusing it all, being all mindful of flow and everything. So we've got a really 100mm by 100mm square sort of box with a huge screen under it. And we've got baffling around the pickup too of the sump at the floor. So we're getting incredible volume of oil. So we've got a huge amount of oil always sitting in the sump. So that's the key, and that's why I don't have any issues whatsoever. Up in the revs, cornering, whatever, I've been constantly monitoring it ever since I've done the modding, and it's been faultless. It's been unbelievable. Coupled, guys, to that race prepping my oil pump. I've done a video on that a while back. You've just got to look at it. It's called Race Prepping a Holden V8 Oil Pump. That's unbelievable, that little trick. TK, I found that on a forum, and that is an unbelievable trick to these pumps, because we don't want to run a high volume oil pump. It loads up the shaft, it puts extra wear on the gear to the camshaft, and it can run the risk of splitting the pin. They've only got a sort of like a split pin that runs through to the top bronze gear. We don't want to shear that, because that's the end of that. So by doing a standard volume oil pump, by modifying it, and I mean by modifying it is porting all the galleries inside, flowing it all, we're actually increasing the volume of it. And you can do another little trick too with packing the spring, which is the oil pressure relief spring. And that sets a determined oil pressure, which I think around factory there's 60, but I've bumped it up to 75, 100 thousandths. So by packing that and doing all the porting, match porting the pump to the block, because a lot of it, the holes don't match up from where the pump goes to the block. So you do a little bit of porting to match port it all. And we've got a pump now that it just ramps so quickly. It's unbelievable. So we've got nothing fancy going on, guys. But like I said, you do a few of these little tricks to it, and it just increases so much volume down low with oil. It increases oil that's always to the pickup, so we can constantly keep this engine alive and fed. And that's what it takes. I haven't gone into this engine and actually done any priority oiling modification. I may do that in my next block, my 355, but to be honest, guys, I think if you can keep the oil up to it, keep that pressure volume up to it with the prepping of that oil pump that I did, I've had no faults with this motor, absolutely whatsoever. It's been unbelievable. So, you know, that's what it takes. It just takes a few simple things, but you've just got to be mindful of it. And if you do it the right way, you're going to have a lot of success. You're not going to cook your motor and run into bearing issues and troubles. And that's a lot of it's due to that, guys. Trust me, that's what it is. You know, and it's a sure way to keep these old motors ticking over and reliable, and that's what it takes, guys. All right, well that's just my little rant, and I hope you guys are enjoying my vids, because look, I've got a lot of information that's in my head, and I love to share it and get it out to you guys, and that's what it's all about, you know, sharing, because I'm learning all the time myself. I don't know everything, and I don't pretend to, but what I do know and what I've researched, I love to share it with you guys. So that's what it's all about. All right, well, I won't babble anymore. I'll put one up soon, guys. Catch you later.